Hi, and welcome to the Corporate Warriors podcast. My name is Fela, and in this special episode, we're going to talk about people pleasing, how using it strategically can help you accelerate your career, and how using it as a default mechanism for every situation that you're in will actually ruin your career advancements. So stay tuned if you think you're a people pleaser and learn how to use that skill strategically for your career success. So, as said already in the introduction, people-pleasing is not all that negative. So I don't want to tell you that you have to change everything that ever worked for you, that you feel confident even and relaxed doing because it's something that you've learned early on. What I want to transmit to you is that it should not be your default mechanism. It should not be your default communication style. That way, you will find that your glass ceiling is coming sooner than you've ever imagined. Let me tell you why. In the very beginning of our careers, when we're juniors, when we don't really know what's going on just yet in corporations, it is great to be this people-pleasing worker bee, right? So you take on new assignments, you say yes to new challenges, and you just do. You try to figure out what your manager wants, you try to figure out what your stakeholders want, and you try to please them all. It will make everybody really pleased with you, as you can imagine. If you're doing it right and you're a good people pleaser, everybody will be really pleased with your work. And you will potentially get the first promotion or get the first salary increase because there's literally nothing negative that anybody could say about you because you're so damn good at people pleasing. Now, there comes then, however, a stage in your life when you want to make the bigger jumps, when you perhaps want to lead a team, when you want to become the technical expert. Now, what is required of a technical expert? It's also required to sometimes say, actually, no, that is not possible with our setup, let's say. You cannot just say yes to everything. You would not be able to live up to the expectation of your role. If you're a leader, you cannot be 100% people pleaser all the time because imagine if you were a true people pleaser in a leadership position, you would need to accept every salary increase request. Now, is that possible? Even if you really want it and you think everybody deserves it, that's probably not possible because very, very likely you have a limited budget for salary increases. So you cannot just say yes to everything. In addition, once people would find out about that you are saying yes to any kind of request, the requests would potentially go crazy as well, and you would not be respected. You would very much be undermined or even played by others. So at some point in your career, you will, and probably sooner than later, you'll find that you hit a glass ceiling and need to take a look at your default mechanisms, your default communication styles, and people pleasing is a big one. So that's why it's so important to take a look at that. So the first thing that we do here is try to figure out together where that comes from. I mean, there's a clear reason why some people feel that they have to please everybody while others don't. And it does not always, but very often start in our childhood experiences. So if you, for instance, had very authoritarian parents and you were not allowed to criticize decisions in the household, even just to articulate that you were not okay with something, that might have created a thought inside of you that saying what you truly think is not okay if it's a different opinion than what the leader, in this case your parents, decided. Perhaps you even thought back then as a child that if you don't do what your parents want, you will not receive their love and your survival actually depends on it. That's a conclusion that we often have in childhood. The sooner we make this conclusion, the more rooted it is in our subconscious mind. So we will try for our whole lives, as long as we don't take a look at it, try to evade that because nobody wants to, be threatened in their survival. Okay, so it doesn't mean that it's that harsh for you, but it could be. And it doesn't really matter because anything can be healed and overcome. So don't worry about it no matter what comes up for you. It could also just be that the people-pleasing behavior was heavily encouraged. So you felt that you get more love from your parents or more love from your school teacher or kindergarten teacher if you were just trying to please them all the time, which is something that happens very, very often. So it's not often encouraged that children express their own opinions. And I don't favor parents that let their children do whatever they want. It's not about not setting boundaries, but is it safe for the child to express their ideas, their beliefs, even criticism? So think back. When do you think, what is your feeling? What do you think is the first kind of situation that you can remember when you were not feeling safe articulating your own opinion, or when you felt you only get love and are being taken care of if you are a people pleaser? And then it is totally possible to go back to that point in time. You can either do a guided meditation, for instance, or you just, close your eyes and get this person at that age to you. And then you explain to that mini version of you that what their conclusion was back then was just one of many potential conclusions. And it is not the truth. So you can step up as the adult that you are right now and explain to your inner child, so to speak, that it is safe to actually articulate your opinion in a healthy and respectful way. And it's even safer to do so because you have to stand up for yourself as an adult. And this is just part of the game. So you need to get your inner child on board, so to speak, in this specific situation. It could be at a later point in time, you just do the work and get there and explain it. And if there's still some doubts, really write it down. Is what I think, is a conclusion that I meant 100% true? Can I be 100% certain that if I articulate a critical thought, my parents will not like me anymore, they will not love me anymore? Is it true that my peers will not respect me anymore if I tell them that sometimes I might not be of the same opinion? Or is this a wrong conclusion? And then you can start changing it slowly but steadily. And by changing it, I don't mean to completely not be a people pleaser anymore, because there are situations in your job and it's very, very helpful for your career advancement to be a people pleaser. For instance, people pleasers, the thing they learn is to be super empathetic. They understand really quickly what the other person needs from them, what the other person feels. That's what people pleasers do, right? They really get it without asking too many questions and then just deliver. So having the people pleaser gene and getting over it, overcoming it, will make you even a better leader than somebody that never was a people pleaser to begin with. Why? Because you have this empathy that you bring to the table. So for instance, if somebody in your team, once you are a team leader or department leader, if somebody's in your team is struggling, you'll find it way easier to emotionally connect to that person and to figure out a solution that works for both of you. It's going to be way easier, and potentially also your team members are going to respect you and like you even more for it if you can really be that empathetic leader, but also in a respectful and clear way communicate boundaries. That's exactly what you need to be doing. So it is a superpower, and I don't want you to think, oh, that's all negative. I don't want to be that. It is great as long as it's used strategically. So one example that I can give from my private life is that in my job, I learned really early also to set some healthy boundaries. And there are some communication tips that I will give you just in the next chapter. But what I learned is that in my private life, I still had trouble to communicate my boundaries. So at one point in my life, it was kind of a low point. I wasn't feeling very well, and I just needed some time, alone with my husband to figure things out and to make a new plan for myself and to just to heal and get to that next chapter. So at this point, a friend wanted to visit me, and she wanted to come for 2 weeks or even perhaps a little bit longer. And I was already overwhelmed just by thinking of it. So because I knew that normally that's something we always used to do and it was the normal thing to say yes to, I did not want to say yes because I didn't feel that this would be right for me at this point. But because I knew that her expectation was me saying yes, I was troubled, and I was like all of a sudden bursting out, the no, and without being empathetic in my communication, because like holding it back so much that when it came out completely wrong. Okay. Now, luckily, this was a really good friend of mine, and I called her another time afterwards, and I explained it to her, and I apologized for how I communicated it. I did not change my mind at this point in time, but I explained to her what happened and why I reacted as weirdly. So it can all be solved, but I just want to get you on the same page with me. I know where you're at. And I know that it can depend on your life situation. So learning that skill now is just going to help you in your professional as well as in your private life. And now we're finally going to get to the point. So how do you do it? And basically, once you heal that part of you that thinks people pleasing is the only way to go, you can start to slowly but steadily adapt some strategies that help you to articulate what you really think and feel without being disrespectful. So the great thing that you can do is using I messages. And the idea is that you have a kind of structure that you go through when you have to articulate something that you're not happy with. And the idea is that you talk about your personal perception. And you do not talk about what you think others have done or why you think others might have done something to hurt you. So the focus is on yourself. So just imagine, I'm a project manager and somebody else was taking over project communication without telling me. And I feel undermined by that, and I'm not happy about it. So what could I say to my boss? You start with something neutral. You express what actually happened. As precise as possible, no judgment, very neutral. Then you say how you felt about it. I was frustrated because I really wanted to make this right. I wanted to have a great communication with the client. And then you can express your wish. And then you have the person already basically on your side because it's easy to follow you and to understand. You can say, I would highly appreciate it if next time, if there's communication going out to my client about my project, that I'm going to be contacted beforehand, because I'm happy to change the schedule of my project communication or change the date when I communicate so that we can all make sure that our client is happy with our work. Okay, so you said what you wish for, make it really clear, you stay in the power, and you even put on a common objective at the end, making clear that it's not one person against another, it's really you trying to figure out how to be the best project manager for the specific client. Right? So those are I messages, and you can always use them. Make sure that you always stay in a respectful communication. If you're not sure if you're respectful or not, try to not use too many adjectives. And if you're super anxious about talking to your manager, go to the bathroom beforehand, do some deep breathing, do something like a Superman pose. You can just stand in your bathroom stall, nobody has to see you, and you do either like this or like that, like the victory sign for 2 minutes. It will help your brain to prepare yourself for a conversation that might be difficult, but it will, let's say, create this feeling of confidence in you so that it's way easier for you to talk in a neutral, professional way. So that the tonality is right, the volume is right, you have the confidence. And if that's even not enough, practice it. Practice it at home in front of the bathroom mirror and record yourself while doing it. Practice it into a camera and record yourself so you can even see your facial expressions. And then afterwards, listen to it. How do you sound? Then look at it. How do you look? And then together, how do you look and sound? So you can train that. And the first time you do it, it's going to be hard. And the second time, it's going to be easier. And the third time, it's going to be even easier. And it starts to become your normal way of communicating. And you'll establish that new belief, the actual truth that you do not have to be a people pleaser in order to be respected and in order to grow your career. So with that, I want to let you out again into the world. Please do not say people pleasing is horrible, because it helped you up until this point. It helped you potentially in the beginning of your career. And now it's just a time to grow for you. So take the advice, train it, practice it, and make those positive reference experiences so that you can learn step by step that it's actually great to use the people pleasing as a strategic tool when you really, really need it, and to also have a toolkit of communication for critical or negative or, hard truths that does not impede further career growth, but help it. Because we need leaders to be able to communicate if something is not going right. And we need them to be able to do it in a neutral way so that new solutions can be found together. All right, with that, I will let you go. I hope this episode was helpful for you, and I would love to see you back next time. If you like the video, please hit the subscribe button. And if you are a former people pleaser, just comment a small heart. I would really, really appreciate it to see how many people I could help with this short episode. See you next time.